What's going on YouTube? Another Tuesday, another tutorial, and in today's tutorial I will be showcasing you guys how you pressure play like a pro on FC26. If you're tired of getting walked through and the opponent is basically building up every single attack, yes, this is the video for you. But before we jump into it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you're not missing the upcoming ones, because this one today will be very, very important if you want to learn how to pressure play like a pro player. Let's go. So, tip number one will first of all choose a formation in general that you feel comfortable pressing with. If you don't know what formation you want to use, make sure to use one of these four ones. 4-4-1-1, I think, is the first option. Second option, as you will see by my tactics here, 4-4-2. I think 4-4-2 will probably be the best formation to pressure play with, because you have your two strikers that can put pressure on the center backs, and then your wingers, and then use your CMs, obviously. Formation number 3 will be 4-2-3-1. I think it's a pretty defensive formation, so not the greatest to pressure in, but it's still a decent formation. And the fourth one will be the 4-5-1 formation. As you have 3 center midfielders, you can easily put pressure in the middle of the park by having one extra CM, and in general, it's a pretty decent formation to put pressure on with in FC26. So first of all, tip number 1 will be try to slow your opponent down, because on this game in general, trying to pressure play on the opponent's half is very, very, very hard. And I think if you guys played FC26 a couple of games, you already know that pressuring the opponent on his own half, basically impossible. So when the opponent has the ball on his own half, the most important thing that you should have in your mind is to try to make the middle as compact as possible, because that's usually where the opponent is trying to find space. And once he breaks the line through your midfield and stuff, that's when it gets dangerous and hard to defend. So tip number 1 on try to pressure play, as I said though, is try to use the middle and make it as compact as possible. Also, you need to master right stick switching. You basically do right stick switching by pressing the right analog on the controller and then flicking it towards the player you want to defend with. So we have an example here in the background. We have my opponent here, the MDS. I obviously play a FC Pro Open Cup, so very, very tough game, of course, against another good pro player. And you see, I basically make the middle as compact as possible. So if we play this kind of a sequence, you see I make it compact and I managed to win the ball. But what am I doing if we deep dive into it? So, as you see here, I'm doing offside trap first. That means that the team is pushing up. Super important to learn this. You basically do offside traps by pressing this button twice up. That will mean that the team is pushing up and leaving a lot of space, obviously, in behind, but will make the middle a bit more compact. The space in between the center back and the center midfielders will be way more compact and way harder for the opponent to try to find that penetrating pass through your midfield. So once the pass goes to Yamal here, my number 1 priority is to try to second and press with Mbappé by holding in R1 on your controller. The player that's most often closest to the ball will second and press the ball holder. My second thought then, while I'm holding in R1, as you see, this kind of triangle is above Kylian Mbappe's head, and you can't hold in R1 for too long, because then the stamina of the second man pressure will go out, and then you won't be able to use second man press with that player anymore. So you can't just hold in R1 for the whole game. You need to be able to right stick switch, but also pay attention to who is going to be the second man press, basically, that will put pressure on the ball holder. So once again here, Yamal gets the ball. He plays it backwards, and once he's playing it backwards, my number 1 objective is to try to cut off the middle, because we don't want the pass to go there. So once he is playing it backwards, I try to drag back Pina onto my own half and cover De Jong. Once I've done that, when I feel like, okay, I'm in a pretty decent spot, I want to try to cover off the pass through Pina and Mbappé, which is this penetrating pass here to Bonmati. And as you see here, I'm trying to do it manually by being on Mbappé and trying to put pressure. And when I feel like, okay, I can actually try to go, that's when I right stick switch to Pina, because I see that the pass is coming, and I do second man press with Mbappé to try to put pressure on Koundé. If he wasn't to pass this, Mbappé is still putting pressure on him. This is basically leaning towards me getting the ball and starting my attack from here, and overall very, very good pressure play. So if we go back to it and we watch the whole sequence, it basically gets the ball from kickoff. We try to, as I said, keep the middle as compact as possible. That's step number 1. Step number 2, try to use the right stick switching to switch first of all, and use the R1 button to try to put second man press, and then you will get the ball like this every single time if you just master these two mechanics and adding them together. This sequence is going to be very, very good as well, and this is another great example of how I'm trying to use the right stick switching, but also trying to put pressure on the ball holder and actually make him feel unsecure what my next move will be in defense. So he has the ball here with Lamine Yamal. He manages to send his center back, and usually this doesn't happen. I think most of the times when this happens, the pro players that I play against misclicked and they didn't want to send the center back. Either way, Yamal has the ball here on the wing, and I want to try to put pressure on him, but at the same time, I don't want to pull my left back out of position here, because if he beats my left back here, then he just had like a straight line going down to the corner flag and then try the reset or go byline. So I do a bit of second man press here, try to put pressure on Yamal, but at the same time here with Zico, I'm trying to cover off the middle so he can't find his penetrating pass into the middle and then be able to put space. But because once you find your cam or striker in general in a 4-4-1-1 formation or a 4-5-1 formation, and you're in front of the opponent's midfield, that's when it's very, very hard to defend in general. Trying to step out with the center back or stepping out with the full back. That's usually when this is basically creating holes in your defense when you're stepping out with defenders. So that's why we try to use the center midfielders as much as we can in this game. So once again here, he tries to play it backwards. Perfect. We slowed him down. Step number 1, as I talked about before. Try to slow the opponent down and keep the middle compact. That's step number 1. Step number 2, try to put some pressure on the ball holder while also covering off the opening passes with the right stick switching. So once again here, he gets the ball to Lamine Yamal. I decide, okay, as you see, that the arrow is above Nuno Mendes. I try to put some second man press first before I switch to Nuno Mendes, because once Yamal is actually turned this way, this is actually a great chance for me to be aggressive and try to go on him. And this is basically me not really I'm not really being predictable in this kind of way. I'm just going at him, he doesn't expect it, and I will win the ball. As you see here, I'm going at him, being aggressive, winning the ball, and from here I can start my own attack. This tackle that I do with Nuno Mendes though, super important that it's a very, very accurate tackle, because if you miss, yes, the player will basically be standing like this. Bam. And then you're out of position, and yeah, easier for the opponent to go down the byline and score. So once again, if we go through it a bit more into depth, we slow the opponent down as he goes backwards. That's perfect. We try to cover off the middle, which we do with Zico, while putting some pressure with Nuno Mendes. Once again here, as you see, I select Nuno Mendes. Here again, I do some second man press to get closer. Once I feel like, okay, I can actually go and hit him, then I'm being aggressive, then I'm going towards him, pressing circle, winning the ball, and from here I can start my own attack. But it's all about slowing the opponent down, and also, as I said now, step number 2, keep the middle compact, use the right stick switching to your advantage, and use especially the R1 button to put second man pressure on the ball holder so he feels like he's never has time on the ball, makes rush decisions, and after that you can win the ball and starting your attack from there. And once again, this is actually, yes, I showed you guys 2 great clips of in general how you want to put pressure. This is going to be the best one out of them all. So the opponent has the ball from his goalkeeper, and from his goalkeeper in general, as I said, if you want to try to pressure play on the opponent's half, it's very, very, very hard this year. Insanely hard, I would say. I would say it's not even the best pro players in the world can do it. If you're just doing it in a great way in terms of build up, putting pressure on you or on the opponent will be very, very hard if they're really good at building up. So as I said, that's why my number 1 tip is to try to slow the opponent down, and that's exactly what we're doing here. He finds these kind of passes, and if you play against someone that's playing 4-5-1, for example, and has these kind of 3 center midfielders flat here, and they all manage to have tiki-taka, obviously the first down passes will be very good, and it's, as I said, it's very, very hard to put pressure on the ball holder. But once you get into these positions, as I am with Reinders here, this is when you can try to be aggressive, but more importantly, first of all, have it under control that you slow the opponent down. That's the number 1 tip. So once he gets the ball here with Aitana to Reinders, you see second man press with my Reinders, try to put pressure on the ball holder. Again, he sends Mariona here, which means that he doesn't really have an open pass. The thing I should have done here is to probably select Mbappé, then cover off Nico, because he has a pretty open pass here to Nico to go out wide, and then he can try to take space. But I managed to slow the opponent down as Mariona is in no man's land. I also managed to cover off the penetrating pass through the midfield here to Pina, which is very, very good, which means that he can't find a pass to Pina through my midfield. And then when I feel like, okay, now I'll slow him down, I'll put my players into the right position to be able to put pressure, that's when I decide to go. You see here, I'm being very, very aggressive, trying to manually cover off the center midfielder here, which I believe is Bonmati, with my De Jong. I cover off, doing second man press with my Reinders, as you see that the green triangle is above his head. I see, okay, he wants to go upwards. He doesn't go upwards yet. This is when I actually press L1, because L1 is the switching to the closest player of the ball. And if you guys didn't know this, the second man pressure, the triangle, if you press L1 after you second man pressed, it will most likely, 99% of the chances, get the player that you had second man press on. So I had second man pressure with Reinders before when I was actually defending with De Jong. I pressed L1 to get the player that I had second man press with, which was Reinders. From here, I win the ball, and if you win the ball on your opponent's half, that's a trigger when you basically should just go forward. I'm super close to get a through ball here to Nico Williams and score, but overall great pressure play from me, almost scored because of it, and in general the opponent will feel more insecure building up when these kind of things happen, especially on his own half of the pitch. So as I said, once again, very good pressure play using the L1 in defense, R1 to put the second man press, right stick to switch with players, and L1 to get the closest player with the ball. That's basically how you pressure play in FC26. Yes, it's a lot about right stick switching, but also second man press, and adding these two tools together will make you very good with pressing in FC26. If this helped you dominate more games, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on the channel. I would appreciate that a lot. Please comment, as I said, down below, whatever tutorials you guys want to see in the upcoming days, because I will be away for a few days, so I'm going to upload a few more tutorials this upcoming week. So let me know in the comments before you leave, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Thank you for watching, boys. Love you all. Peace.